A quiet Tuesday evening in Maidenhead turned into every parent's nightmare on Tuesday, 10th of June, just after 6:30. Thames Valley Police arrived at a home on Dunholme End to an unthinkable discovery. A 4-year-old child found unresponsive and tragically declared deceased at the scene. Within minutes, a 37-year-old woman was in custody, now charged with his murder. What happened next and why this serene neighborhood will never be the same will be our focus tonight. The incident unfolded in the Berkshire town of Maidenhead, specifically on a residential street called Dunholme End. On the evening of Tuesday, the 10th of June, emergency services received a call at around 6:30. When officers from Thames Valley Police arrived at the address, they were met with a deeply distressing scene. A young child, just 4 years old, was found unresponsive inside the home. Paramedics attended, but despite efforts, the child was pronounced deceased shortly thereafter. The home was immediately secured, and a formal investigation began on site. Inside the quiet home, police officers found a 4-year-old child who showed no signs of life. Emergency responders confirmed the child had tragically passed away. The officers on scene initiated standard protocol, preserving the area for forensic examination and immediately informing senior detectives. Although the cause of the child's passing has not been publicly disclosed, authorities treated the situation with the utmost seriousness. From the very beginning, this was no routine call. It was clear to investigators that this case required immediate scrutiny. As the investigation unfolded that evening, a woman present at the scene was taken into custody. Identified by authorities as Akanksha Adivarekar, aged 37, she was arrested on suspicion of involvement in the child's death. Officers transported her from the Maidenhead home to a local police station for formal questioning. No other individuals were detained, and authorities later confirmed that the incident appeared to be isolated. The arrest marked a significant turning point in the case, shifting it from a tragic discovery to a criminal investigation. Following extensive questioning and evidence review, Akanksha Adivarekar was formally charged with 1 count of murder. The charge was announced by Thames Valley Police in the days after the incident. She is now facing a full legal process and has been scheduled to appear before magistrates at Reading Magistrates Court on Wednesday, the 19th of June. The court appearance will mark the beginning of what is expected to be a closely followed legal case, with further proceedings to be determined in the coming weeks. In the aftermath of the arrest and formal charge, Thames Valley Police issued a carefully worded public statement. They confirmed that the investigation was active and ongoing, and that officers remained present at the scene in Dunholme End to carry out forensic work and interviews with those in the area. Crucially, police emphasized that they believed this was an isolated incident and that there was no wider threat to the local community. They also stated that the child's family had been informed and were being supported by specially trained officers during what they described as a profoundly difficult time. The department asked the public not to speculate online about the case and encouraged anyone with useful information to come forward. Their message was clear. This was a deeply sensitive situation requiring privacy, care, and a commitment to justice through proper legal channels. In the days that followed the tragedy, the town of Maidenhead was left shaken. Dunholme End, a normally quiet residential street lined with modest homes and trimmed gardens, became the center of a story no one in the community ever imagined. Neighbors described the scene that evening as surreal: flashing lights, police vehicles blocking the road, and officers going door to door. Many residents stood in silence behind their curtains, trying to comprehend the unfolding events. While police reassured the public that there was no ongoing danger, the emotional impact was undeniable. Some local parents spoke anonymously about feeling rattled and unsettled, struggling to explain the news to their own children. Others expressed disbelief that something so serious could happen right next door. Floral tributes began to appear near the home. Small messages written in careful handwriting expressed sorrow, love, and confusion. Though the community did not know the child personally, many felt the loss deeply. One nearby resident shared quietly, "You don't need to know the family to feel the pain. A child should be safe at home." This was not just a police case. For the people living nearby, it became a heartbreak felt by all. With Akanksha Adivarekar now formally charged, the legal process begins to take shape. Her first appearance in court was scheduled for Wednesday, the 19th of June, at Reading Magistrates Court. This initial hearing is typically brief, focused on confirming identity, presenting the charge, and determining whether the defendant will be granted bail or remain in custody. Given the seriousness of the accusation, it is expected that the case will then be transferred to a higher court for a more detailed examination and eventual trial proceedings. In the meantime, the investigation remains active. Forensic specialists continue to process evidence from the home in Dunholme End, while detectives work to establish a timeline of events leading up to that evening. Police have not yet released any information regarding a potential motive or the circumstances surrounding the child's death. They've made it clear that no detail will be rushed and that every piece of information must be verified through proper channels. Support services have also been activated for those directly affected. This includes not only the family of the child, who are receiving help from specialized officers trained in grief and trauma, but also the local community, where many parents are struggling with feelings of fear, confusion, and sorrow. Thames Valley Police have urged the public to avoid online speculation and refrain from sharing unverified information. Any false claims or assumptions could interfere with the case and cause further pain to those involved. For now, the story enters a new phase, one of justice, scrutiny, and a long search for answers. At the heart of this tragedy is a child whose life ended far too soon. A young boy, only 4 years old, whose name has not been released to the public, and for good reason. Out of respect for the family and in accordance with both legal standards and ethical reporting, his identity remains protected. There will be no images, no personal details, and no speculation shared about his background or the circumstances of his passing. The focus now must be on truth, accountability, and compassion. In every step forward through court proceedings, police updates, and community discussions, the dignity of this child must remain at the center. This is not just a headline or a breaking story. It's a loss that echoes deeply, especially for those who understand how fragile and precious a young life truly is. As creators, journalists, and viewers, we carry a responsibility to tell the story, yes, but to do so without sensationalism, without cruelty, without exploiting a tragedy for shock value. This child cannot speak for himself, but how we speak about him matters, and in that silence we owe him care, caution, and humanity. What happened in Maidenhead is more than a tragic headline. It's a reminder of how fragile life is and how deeply one moment can change everything. A quiet home, a peaceful neighborhood, a young child whose future will now remain forever unwritten. As this case moves through the justice system, one truth stands firm: every child deserves to feel safe where they live. And when that safety is shattered, it's up to all of us to care, to ask the hard questions, and to demand answers that honor the life that was lost. We will continue to follow this case with the utmost care and respect, providing only verified updates and staying within the boundaries of truth and compassion. If you believe stories like this should be told responsibly, and if you value real reporting over speculation, then subscribe and stay with us. In the comments, we invite thoughtful reflections, not theories, not accusations, but honest human reactions to a deeply painful story. Because behind the sirens, the headlines, and the courtroom walls, there is a child who will never grow up. And that's something none of us should ever forget.